Hi, once again. Haven't made a video in a while, just been very, very busy with a lot of things and outside of YouTube and whatnot, which is pretty boring and not really worth talking about here. But anyway, I thought I'd come on tonight and do a review of the 1982 film Tenebrae. Tenebrae is a film directed by the Italian director Dario Argento, who was well known for the giallo style, which is like a slasher film with like the POV shot where you see everything from the killer's perspective. And this was actually the first film of his I ever saw. And it's one of my favorites. It stars Anthony Francesco as the lead character named Peter Neal, who's an author who is on a trip in Rome promoting his book, which is the title of the film, Tenebrae. And he meets with his agent over in Rome, who is played by John Saxon. And of course, we remember him from Nightmare on Elm Street, of course, and various other things. And he's just there promoting his book, and then he hears about a string of murders, and then it starts making him paranoid. Because we start off with he's on a plane going to Rome, and then we see a woman who is in a bookshop, and she has the book Tenebrae, and she gets caught by the store clerk, and then she gets off the hook though, and then they let her go home, and she almost gets raped by this crazy guy, and then she gets away and gets inside, and then while she's inside, she just randomly is attacked by a invader who slits her throat and stuffs it full of the pages of the book. And of course, Peter Neal, he gets to Rome and does his interviews, and then when he goes to his hotel, he is met with the police, and he is told about these murders. He then receives a phone call of the killer quoting a passage from his book, and he notices that the call is coming from a phone booth outside, and he says to the guy we should meet, and then he asks him about the woman he killed, and then of course the killer just is like, "How did you know about that? Who's up there with you?" And then we get one scene where it's one of a few where you get a person who is like having these weird flashbacks of this woman on a beach where it's her and these like four other dudes, and then you don't see the faces of any of these dudes, and she's kind of like being promiscuous with three of them, and then one of them she's kind of giving him the go away look, and then he smacks her, and he tries to run off, and the other three guys just chase after him and like start beating his ass, and then she comes over to him and starts kicking him in the balls with her red high heels, and stuffing the heel down his throat, and yeah, then again, and then throughout the movie, we're also introduced to this woman named Anne, played by Daria Nicolodi, who at the time was Dario Argento's wife. She's a interest of his who he had not been able to really see much because he had been with his previous fiance, whose name is Jane, who he notices is in Rome and had been watching him. and he suspects she might be the one who's the killer. And of course, then there's a few more strings of killings. He of course does an interview with this TV personality named Cristiano Berti, who is a big fan of his book, and he starts telling him, yeah, your book is about human perversion and its effects on society. And then this starts making Peter Neal a little paranoid, and he starts suspecting, hold up, maybe it's this guy who's the killer. Because he seems to be really into the book, and he knows it front to back. So, and yeah, then we get this scene where this girl from the hotel, she's the daughter of the owner. She's not really a real important character, but she goes off with this guy on a bike, and then we cut later where she's telling the guy to go fuck himself, and she starts walking home and gets attacked by this Rottweiler that chases her like forever. It goes on a long time, and the dog ends up chasing her all the way to this house, which where we've seen the killer, and she manages to get inside because the door got left open when the killer left earlier, and she finds like pictures in his basement of the stuff he's done, and goes upstairs and tries to call someone for help, but killer winds up catching her in there, and he just doesn't care about anything she has to say, and he's just going after her, and eventually catches up to her. She falls down out in the backyard, and he ends up axing her to death, and then next day he's mowing over her with his mower. And then we get to this twist where we have seen his fiancee Jane, who has been in Rome watching him, and we learn that she has been having an affair with his agent, played by John Saxon. So there's there's that, and then the killer, Peter Neal, figures it out. It must be Cristiano Berti, and then he has this idea. Hey, we're gonna go watch that guy's house and find out when he's ready to kill someone again. And then the young guy, I forget his character's name. He's not really a real important character either, but he goes over to the other side of the house, sees Cristiano Berti inside, and then notices him face to face with someone, and he says, "Yes, it was me. I killed them all." And then he gets an axe to the head. Then the guy runs around to the other side of the house to tell Peter what happened, and notice Peter has been knocked out and got a bang on his head. And now there's this mystery, like Cristiano Berti admitted he was the killer, but now it's the matter of who killed him. And then, of course, the guy tries to go back there and look for some evidence because he really didn't see anything. Of course, it winds up being a mistake for him because he winds up just getting killed when he gets back in the car. Someone just slits his throat from behind. And and then we know that John Saxon's character had been having an affair with Jane, Peter Neal's fiance, and it results in John Saxon, waiting to meet her just out in town one day, and then all of a sudden he just winds up getting stabbed to death, and Jane was on her way there to meet him, but then she sees that he's dead there, and then she just turns around and leaves. We get another flashback again to that girl from the beach earlier, where we see someone's watching her from a bush, and then she winds up being stabbed. And then Jane is just sitting back at her hotel room where she's got a gun and all paranoid. And then all of a sudden, an axe just comes through the window and cuts her arm off. And then it goes back to another flashback of that girl again. And then we're revealed that the person who killed Christiana Verte, the killer, was in fact Peter Neal himself. And and then the female detective who was one of the two detectives from earlier, she goes over there by herself and then winds up getting killed by Peter Neal. And then the guy detective just is like just tells him he figured it all out, how the killer had was already dead, but Peter Neal wanted the killer's legacy to live on long enough to get blamed for the murder of John Saxon and Jane. But Peter Neal admits he didn't kill the other women, and he just and then he tries to pull a suicide act by acting like he's slitting his throat. And then Detective Gedimani just and Anne just go back outside, and the detective says that he didn't want to believe it was Peter Neal, but then he got a report from Interpol that when Peter Neal was a teenager in Rhode Island, a girl he knew was killed, and someone accused him, but no evidence was presented, so nothing ever happened. But then he remembers that quote from Peter Neal's book, which was read from in the intro of the movie, where it says that no matter with all humiliation could be swept aside by a single act of annihilation, murder. And the detective concludes that Peter Neal obviously fell into that a long time ago. But he goes back inside and is gonna clear Peter Neal's body out of there, but then notices he's gone. And then he just winds up behind the detective and kills him. And then he's waiting for Anne to show back up so he can kill her, but she tries to open the door. He's charging at her, and then a metal sculpture falls over and then winds up impaling Peter Neal. And just ends with Anne screaming in horror the whole uh, as the credits pull up. And yeah, that's the movie. It's a And like if you're familiar with Dario Argento films, he's kind of style over substance a little, but his movies are at least like interesting to watch. They usually have good visual style, good characters, good music. Van Goblin that does the music in this movie. They've done music for a lot of his other movies too, and yeah, and this was one of the movies during the time where he was married to Daria Nicolodi, who played the character of Anne in this movie. And she was a screenwriter and producer on all his films during that period. And, yeah, overall, yeah, this was the first Dario Argento movie I ever saw. And it's definitely, I'd say, in my top five favorite ones. Like, I'm not sure what order I'd go for the top five, but I would definitely have this one, Deep Red, Phenomena, Opera, and Four Flies on Grey Velvet. And, but yeah, I'd give this movie a 8 out of 10 overall. It still holds up for me a lot, and yeah, and hoping to get back in the swing of doing more videos now, but we will see since I have a busy schedule, so anything could come up and anyone who's still out there watching, I appreciate it. Like the video, give me a comment, tell me what you think of the movie, and that's all I got. So, see you next time. Yeah, have a good one.